31 years ago, the General Assembly proclaimed the 5th of December today to be International Volunteer Day, to raise awareness of the important contribution of volunteer service, and so encourage, stimulate and cajole more people from all walks of life to offer their services as volunteers in order to make the world a better place. Good afternoon and welcome, and a packed room, welcome everybody. My name is Dominic Allen. I'm the head of the UNV office here in New York, and on behalf of the co-organisers, UNFPA and UNV, I'm delighted to welcome you, Excellencies, distinguished panellists and everyone in the room to be your moderator today as we together celebrate International Volunteer Day at this event on youth volunteering for the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, engaging communities, creating change and transforming societies. How many times have you been in events, read or heard how today's world has become home to an unprecedented large generation of young people and the issues that surround that? Well, today, 1 year after the adoption of the 2030 Agenda, we celebrate volunteer solutions that young people are bringing through volunteering and how engaging more young people can make the world that better place. But why today? What's the point? And the answer is threefold. First, we have to pay special tribute to have, as you'll see on the hashtags, a hashtag global applause for youth volunteers who are delivering the SDGs. Second, to promote volunteerism as a means of delivery and localization of the SDGs. Third, to discuss how innovative aspects of youth volunteerism, demonstrating how individuals can show solidarity as well as contribute towards harnessing the demographic dividend. And quite simply put, young volunteers and volunteerism are a significant means of implementation and people engagement for the SDGs. These often invisible at an often local grassroots level. So today we want to make the invisible visible. To do that, we will have a keynote speech directly from the field by video conference. We have a distinguished panel who I will introduce in turn as we approach the panel, giving their views, a dialogue with you all in the room, and then we'll wrap up all by 2:30 p.m, an ambitious time. So, as you know, IVD's theme today is global applause. I should say hashtag global applause. So for all those volunteers. So if you're tweeting, please tweet hashtag global applause. I don't think I've said hashtag global applause enough. And we have two Twitter walls running on the side of the room. One with for hashtag global applause and one hashtag IVD 2016. And we'll be using that Twitter wall as well to ask questions as we approach the dialogue. We also have a registration sheet, so it'd be great to have all of your names so that you know that you're interested in following what happens with young people, and youth volunteerism for the future. Without further ado, it's my absolute pleasure and honour to introduce Miss Masami Irene Semi. Semi is a UN youth volunteer deployed with UNFPA in Lesotho as a youth skills development officer, and she has an inspirational story to set the tone for today. Semi, over to you.
Yes, between us. And with the girls who have been coming to the youth center, we started a girls group 2 weeks ago, and we made it our mission that each of us will come with at least one friend to the session. I also called other girls I met at an organization that looks after young people who are living with HIV. The girls joined us, and now the girls group has grown decisively. In our group discussion, we empower each other and by talking about the girls' issues and how we think we can overcome them. And recently, I have made arrangements with the district senior counselor on HIV from the government hospital to engage with us, and she was excited about this group's initiative. So she will be joining us soon. And with the 25% HIV prevalence in Lesotho, and Tetasnet being on 20.9 for people aged between 15 to 49, there is obviously a lot of work that needs to be done. So on my side as a youth volunteer, I'm determined to encourage more youth to volunteer and also work together with other relevant stakeholders. If I had any other choice, I wouldn't want to stop being a UN volunteer. And I hope from being a youth volunteer, I will become a professional that helps others to pursue their dreams and can make a difference in my community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Semi, for that great story around what you're doing in Lesotho. And we thought it was important today, as we sit in New York, to have that voice from the field directly to us all on the celebration of International Volunteer Day. Semi will be signing off on the video conference for now. So Luke, can we give her one last round of applause before she goes? But we'll be following us on Twitter for those who wish to join in the debate a bit further online. Thank you again, Semi. So now we turn to our panel, and first it's an honour for me to introduce His Excellency Ambassador Matt Sakanyan. That was the one thing I was most worried about today, sir. The permanent representative of Armenia to the United Nations and the current president of the executive board of UNDP, UNFPA and UNOPS, which also includes UNV. It was under the vision and leadership of Armenia that the executive board this year decided to welcome efforts towards peace and development through the integration of volunteers and volunteerism. Thank you, Armenia, for that. And Ambassador, you have the floor.
Birthright Armenia is another very interesting example in Armenia Volunteer Corps and so on. But I think I will be just trying to wrap it up because I think there is going to be a lot more to contribute to this panel. I would want only to wrap this up with this call upon you. My deep appreciation of your strong sense of volunteerism. This is important. This matters. It matters because it's about you, it's about your future. You contribute to your own future by being a volunteer, by taking out that strong sense of a duty. And I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. It's now my honour to introduce His Excellency Ambassador Donoghue, Permanent Representative of Ireland to the UN. And as I do, I would like to highlight as Ambassador referenced in his remarks, the evolution of ICT. I would just like to reference the growth of the UN Online Volunteering Service. It's an online platform that connects online volunteers with UN agencies, civil society organisations and many more. It was created in 2000 after the Millennium Summit, and it's been supported by a small number of strategic partners, including Ireland. And today, with nearly 500,000 users registered, 500,000 volunteers and host organisations registered, and 13,000 online volunteers annually, it's making a huge contribution to the SDGs. With young people spending more time in front of screens for many, many reasons, whether it be social media, Pokemon Go, the news, or studies. We want to say goodbye to keyboard activism and make 2016 the year of keyboard volunteerism. And for that, we want to thank Ireland for their support in the growth of online volunteering. We're excited especially to have His Excellency Ambassador Donoghue because he's one of the co-facilitators of the negotiations of the 2030 agenda. He can set the scene very well as well. So, Ambassador, over to you.
I wanted to say, I think that there is no end to the role which volunteers can play in advocacy, in promotion, in sharing experience and practical knowledge about the many, many different areas covered by the new agenda. Last thing I would say is that we are only still at the process, or in the process of developing global mechanisms to review how the goals are being implemented. In particular, there is something called the High-Level Political Forum here at the UN, which will meet every year and which will be a kind of clearinghouse for a lot of information about how the goals are being implemented. Ultimately, volunteer groups and youth volunteer groups especially will be able to feed in their perceptions about what is happening to this high-level political forum. So, at local level, what you'll be doing is vital, and at national level, and it will be reflected then in work being done at the UN level to ensure that we actually meet the goals by 2030. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Now it's an honour to introduce Mr. Alassane Senghore, the Permanent Observer and Head of Delegation of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies to the United Nations in New York. 1 year ago, at the same time as the adoption of the 2030 Agenda, the General Assembly also adopted a plan of action for the next decade and beyond for integrating volunteering into peace and development. This wide-reaching resolution also called for the inclusion of youth to leverage the full potential of volunteerism, and IFRC have played and will play a key role in that, and we are honoured to be partnering with them in the implementation of that plan of action. Thank you, IFRC, and over to you, Mr. Senghore.
So for me, I think it's very important that we look at some of the critical success factors and we address them as they are important and critical for whatever we do in terms of delivering both development and humanitarian services to our communities. We have an advantage as Red Cross Red Crescent because of our unique position in every country as auxiliary to government. We are allowed to support governments and work with other partners, both in delivering development but also humanitarian services. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Senghore. And I know we're running fast behind schedule, so for those, we will get a short amount of time for Q&A at the end, but I would encourage you to use Twitter to have an online conversation as we go as well. Now it's an honour to introduce Dr. Farah Usmani, Chief of the Operational Support and Quality Assurance within the Programme Division of the UNFPA, one of our co-hosts today. You may know that UNV deploys nearly 7,000 UN volunteers of 153 nationalities, 80% from the south, with 30 different UN partners. One of our most important partners is UNFPA, and it's been growing over the years, and we thank UNFPA for that. The power of volunteerism to ensure that every pregnancy is wanted, every childbirth is safe, and every young person's potential is fulfilled should not be underestimated. Dr. Usmani, over to you.
Thank you, Dominique, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen and young friends. Indeed, we are really pleased to join the global applause to collaborate with UNV for this session as well as renew our collaboration. And you heard our young colleague from Lesotho, Semi, tell you a glimpse of about the work of the volunteers across UNFPA programs globally. I bring greetings from the UNFPA Executive Director, Dr. Babatunde Asiti-Mehen. Under his leadership, we have actively integrated volunteers in our programming across, including in our vision statement, which is to empower youth and so that everybody reaches their potential. Now, just to conclude, so like we are saying that there is immense potential of UNFPA programs worldwide to tap on this potential. I mean, our agenda is such, we have, and it's like a powerful tool which all our esteemed panelists have mentioned. And, we need to, the test of meeting again, back to the 60 million 10-year-olds, is in implementation. And that, again, like I said, calls for us to really, really raise the bar. And we are committed in UNFPA to strengthen volunteerism in our program and to support the ambitious 2030 agenda and the SDGs. Thank you. This is the 10-year-old. The 10-year-old, and we have like full, what I presented to you as a summary about the 10-year-old, the need, and what each little intervention, for the working for these 60 million can help. And I hope I have sparked your interest to read more about it.
Thank you, Dr. Usmani.
I'm sure.
Thank you very much. A question for the floor. How many of you were 15-year-old once upon a time? Put your hand up. No, put your hand up if you were 15 years old. It's not a trick question. I should see everybody's hand straight in the air like this. Who was 15 years old once upon a time? The panelists as well, please. Okay, keep your hand up in the air. If at the age of 15, you did something for somebody else, that you did something in your local community, if you did something which you thought, I'm going to help my neighbour cross the road, I'm going to help. Wow, that's pretty cool. There's a lot of inspirational young people. Okay, then also keep your hand up if at the age of 15 years old you co-founded a young women-led organisation working for the empowerment and gender equality in Pakistan. And it's my honour to introduce Ms. Saba Ismail, our final panellist speaker, to
One, it is very important that the work of young people has to be acknowledged, it has to be appraised, and young people should be given spaces at the decision-making levels. So, and we also need financial resources to be allocated and to be provided to young people to make our dreams a reality, because volunteerism, it's not fun, it's a good thing, because as I said, even people who are living in conflict affected areas, they are volunteering, but it is a serious work and we need resources, we need political commitment and support for our work as well. So while 2030 agenda cannot be achieved without the full engagement of young people, and so we hope as young people, we hope that we'll have the support in many different ways to make sure that we achieve all the 2030 agenda. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Ismail. It was fascinating to hear about sheroes and their contributions to history. Thank you for that. We have a very short amount of time for Q&A now, so I'm going to challenge everybody in the room to imagine they can only speak in Twitter form. How many characters in Twitter?
140.
140 characters. So we can take a handful of questions, and I dare not even, the panel gave such interesting and fascinating insights. I would also like to challenge the panel, if I can as well, when responding for 140 characters. So let's just take 2 or 3, because I know time is precious and we have to end soon. Please, introduce yourself, your organisation, and then straight on with your question or comment. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gail Davis Carter, and I am a UN partner. I have a question for the panel, and actually everyone in the room. I often hear us talk about the youth. Yes, youth are the future, but we all actually are the future, and it was a time where we didn't just focus on one segmentation of the population. My question to you is, did each and every one of the panelists here, did they have a life where did you all have your own journey? You were allowed to grow at your own pace. We have to allow our youth to have their own journey and also make their own choices in their lives as well as to how they want to dictate where their lives go. Not to keep pressuring them indirectly that, oh, you have to do this, it must be this. How do we do that? Because they keep getting those messages from us, and we're actually saying we want to involve you, but we actually don't. So that's the question I have. How do we allow them to have their own choices and journeys too? Because our parents didn't put out that kind of pressure on us. Thank you.
Challenging question. Thank you very much. Next question. Sure.
Hi, I'm Iram. I'm an innovative fellow at UNFPA. I'll try to stick to the Twitter character count. So how do you think young people can contribute to skills development and the implementation of the SDGs? Just that. Good enough for the I hope.
Very well done. Okay, let's take one more question from the floor.
Hello, my name is Valentin Camarno. I'm a communication, social media, public relations for the James J. W. Lewis Foundation. And my question to the panelists and your excellencies is, how would you facilitate these resources and toolkits for online media for those who are not able to facilitate the resources and tools around the world globally?
Thank you. Let's take one last question, and I think we may have to not be able to do another round. So, last question to the floor is for you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, distinguished guests and panelists and everyone. My name is Jolly Amatya. I am originally from Nepal. I was born and raised there, and it's been an amazing panel here. Thank you, UNB, UNFPA, for organizing such an amazing conference. I currently work as the youth chair for the Youth Assembly at the United Nations, organized by Friendship Ambassadors Foundation since 2004. The Youth Assembly takes place every August and February, and it is endorsed by the Mission of Denmark this time. And particularly because Nepal was mentioned 2 times by you and UNFPA as well. Needless to say that young people are so important, and without them achieving the SDGs is impossible. But like you mentioned that in 2015 after the earthquake, it was the young people and their resilience and persistence that helped the rebuilding of Nepal so much. It was young people more, because Nepal is a very politically unstable country, and it was young people and volunteers. And so for a person like me, who was born and raised in Nepal and here for studies and doing good work, how can we help UNV in Nepal in mobilizing young people and to help them mobilize the young volunteers in Nepal? How can we facilitate that and help them?
Thank you. So, 4 themes for the panel if they can address. I think one is around giving youth the chance and space to find their own path and their own journey. I think a question on their connection with peace, the question on the role of technology, and a question around how people can just get involved. I look to the panel to volunteer themselves to the honour of introducing Naomi Pareh, who is an advisor on communications and media in the office of the President of the 71st session of the UN General Assembly. Naomi, who's been a volunteer for over 27 years, raising funds to support abandoned children in the areas of Latin America, Caribbean and Africa. You have the final substantive word. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you to UNV and UNFPA for having me here today. And greetings, excellencies, and guests. We've heard directly from young change makers, member states, and international agencies about the impact that young volunteers have had on the Sustainable Development Goals in their communities and beyond. And I think now we have a huge task for all of us in the room. I think, we're tweeting, we're posting this on social media, but come out of these doors today and tell somebody face to face. I'm so excited about what I've heard. I just can't wait to get out to tell somebody. So if you're in the coffee line, if you're on your way home, tell somebody about what you heard and just say, what could we do about this? Something's happening right now, what can we do? I think the other thing that we could definitely do is if you're a teacher yourself, or if you know a teacher, to encourage them to teach the Sustainable Development Goals to their students. This is something of particular importance to the President of the General Assembly, that students and children and young people learn about the Sustainable Development Goals. We've heard about spreading the word about volunteerism to young people in the highlands of Lesotho. We've heard about leadership incubators. We've heard how volunteerism spreads through all aspects of life. And I think we can definitely take those messages and see what we can do. For all of us who are in the room, any of us who are volunteers, it's important to bring somebody with you. If you're on a volunteer mission, see if you can bring a young person with you or a child with you if you have a young person in your life. And because this is about any of us, bring an adult that's in your life with you to see what you do and inspire them to also make some change. For agencies, organizations, for governments, I think the biggest thing for somebody who's young is to highlight what they're doing, tweet it. Something as simple as a tweet is really going to boost somebody's morale, it's going to spread their mission, and it's really going to give them validity to their work, and can really be a huge deal for them. Because this is about children and youth taking their world into their own hands and making a difference, and as we've heard today, they really are. And so I think we all need to give them yet another hashtag global applause for all the great work.
Thank you very much. So it just leaves me to say thank you very much to the Excellencies, to the full panel, to Semi, who joined us at 8:30 p.m. in Lesotho. Thanks to everybody who came and for participating. I'm sorry we didn't have enough space for questions. Lessons learned. We need more time for questions in a bigger room. Thank you to Weber Chandwick and to UNFPA and to UNV, especially Heidi and Stefania, for the great work that they did in making today possible. The Secretary General said today, on this International Volunteer Day, let us recognise the immense value of the world's volunteers. As they lend a hand to others, let us give a hand by applauding their global citizenship and by their commitment to building a future to peace, prosperity and dignity for all. So one last time, hashtag global applause, a global applause for all the UN volunteers, all volunteers globally around the world. Thank you very much.